Hi everyone, today I'm going to be going over my gamification lesson with using Classroom Dojo in the classroom. So, what is my problem currently? My problem is that right now I have a rambunctious group of kids, all first graders ages 6 to 8, that all are very chatty in the classroom. The thing is that they love to share and are very excited for learning, but they have trouble raising their hand to share or ask questions. So a lot of the time when we're on the carpet or when they're at their seats, they like to blurt out the answer instead of raising their hand. Or if they have a question, they blurt out the question instead of raising their hand. And the problem is that this hinders others from that are raising their hand and following the expectations from actually being able to share or ask their questions. So, what's the solution to this? I made a gamification lesson where students earn points for raising their hands to share or ask questions. The game is a teacher versus student model, and it's played daily or sometimes more than even once a day. So, it's also tracked through Class Dojo, and if the students win, they win rewards. So, this is how the game is played. It's played in a mystery format, and like I said, it will be played once a day, at least. Students will raise their hand during a lesson, and if they raise their hand during the lesson, they earn a point for their team. Like I mentioned before, it's a class versus teacher format. So every time one classmate raises their hand and is called on by the teacher, they earn a point for their team, which is the class. Every time a student calls out an answer instead of raising their hand, the teacher earns a point. So, like I mentioned, it's a teacher versus student format, and if the students win, they earn a reward. Also, the longer the lesson is, the better the reward the students get. And as mentioned before, with the mystery format, students don't know throughout the day when we are going to start playing the game. They won't know until I give the first point or give myself the first point, depending on whether the student raised their hand or called out. So realistically, they don't know when the game is being played until the first point is given out. And at the end, students are going to brainstorm their rewards. So they get to decide and they get to be accountable for whatever reward they would like to do. And some examples of rewards that I gave are a 3-minute dance party, some extra time added onto their recess, less problems for their homework. So those are just some ideas. A piece of candy. So what app am I going to use to keep track of the points? I'm going to be using Class Dojo, and Class Dojo is a behavior app that is typically used for individual behaviors, but there is also a application on there where you can track group behavior. And based on that, I'm going to be tracking the group, which is the class, versus me. And if the students raise their hand during the lesson when we are playing the game, then they get to earn a point for their team. But if they don't raise their hand and they call out, then they earn a point for me, the teacher. And whoever has the most points at the end wins. So what happens if a student loses? So we have a class discussion, and it's an open class discussion, and we talk about what went well during the lesson and what did not go well during the lesson based on the expectation of raising their hand if they would like to share. And then we also talk about what we can fix for next time. So we talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and what we could change for next time to make sure that the outcome is good for the students. And finally, I always give the students another opportunity to play. So if they lose, it stinks in the moment, but they do have the opportunity in the future to change it around and follow the expectation and then win moving forward. And how can this be used outside of the classroom? Well, realistically, I would like for the parents to incorporate this in their everyday lives with the students so that the students become more, it becomes a more consistent thing for the students. So parents can use this at home. They can use it to get students to do chores or just get students to do things that they may not want to do. And I will be sharing this activity with the parents just so they can use it at their discretion if they would like to at home, if it makes it easier for them. So I'm now going to show you. So this is my lesson plan, which I basically went over exactly what what we're going to be doing. And then right here is the class dojo. Now the class dojo, as you can see, I have my students set up on here. And then if you go to groups, you can see I have students versus teacher. Now it looks like here there is only 4 students, but realistically there are all my students on there. So as I add, as each student gets a point, I would just go on here and award the group, and then I would give them a point that way. And so then they would get a point. And then, of course, I would have to reset this from earlier because we had already been playing at that point. And then the teacher gets a point for if the students do not follow the expectation. All right, well, that was my gamification lesson. I hope you enjoyed.